Hey Falcons, I have another math lesson for you today, so let's dive right in. Today's math lesson is fractions of collections, 7-12. We're going to start off with our mental math here. This says that we are sharing 6 pennies between 2 people. That's 3 pennies apiece. What if we take those 6 pennies and share them among 3 people now? Yep, 2 pennies apiece. That's just a turnaround fact. Let's take those 6 pennies and now share them amongst one person. That would be 6 pennies. That one person would get all 6 pennies. Okay, now we're moving on. So let's look at the next one. We're going to share 12 pennies with 2 people now. That would be 6. 2 times 6 is 12, or 12 divided by 2 is 6. How about those 12 pennies now among 3 people? Good, that's 4 pennies apiece. Finally, we're sharing 12 pennies among 6 people. That's 2 pennies apiece. Let's share 20 pennies this time. We're doing 20 pennies, and we're sharing that with 2 people. Yes, they each get 10. Let's share 20 pennies among 3 people this time. That time they get 6 pennies and 2 left over. That was a tricky one. And finally, we are sharing 20 pennies with 9 people. That would mean you have 2 pennies each with 2 left over. Let's move on. It says Jules has a stamp collection with 12 stamps. She puts half of her stamps on one page and the other half on another page. How many stamps are on each page then? It also says that we should use our counters or drawings to help. Let's go ahead and use our counters in our toolkit. As you see, I have 12 counters here. We can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It said that she wanted to put half on one page and half on the other. To show that, I know that it's 1 of 2 in each group. So I could go through and I could do that. I could do 1 over here and 1 here. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I run out of counters. And there we go. We could see that each group or each page gets 6 counters. So half of 6 would be, or half of 12 would be 6. Let's look at this question here. If we had those same 12 stamps, but this time we divided them among 3 pages, how many would we have now? Well, going back to our counters, we can make 3 groups this time. 1 here. Let's do 1 here. And we'll move these out of the way. And have our last group right here. We could do the same strategy of moving our counters in place. Now we know that 12 stamps shared equally among the 3 different pages would have 4 stamps on each one. And we could do the same thing if we do 4 different groups instead. So we'll just add another group here. Make sure each one gets the same amount. Boom. Boom. There and there. And this time we see that 12 stamps divided equally among 4 pages is 3 stamps per page. Okay, so let's look at Mr. Allen's class. In Mr. Allen's class, we have 21 students. 21 students. So how many children make up the whole class? Well, that would be 21. 21. If I asked all the ladies in my class to step forward, I would have 11 of those 21 step forward. So my fraction then would be 11 24ths. If 11 of my students stepped forward, how many stayed back then out of the 21? 10 would be correct. So my fraction there would be 10 24ths. In this next part, it wants me to make a pile of 4 counters, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to pile on 4 of those, and the rest of these we're going to push over to the side. Okay, good enough. Okay, so the first question on this is, what is the whole here? If I only have 4 counters, it doesn't matter if it was a part of the 8 or not. This is what I'm focusing on, so this is my collection. This is what I have left. It's just like if I have a pizza and my family doesn't eat all the pizza, we take it home, and we now only have a half a pizza to share the next day when we go to pull it out of the fridge. Well, we can't add those pieces that we had already ate, so now our whole is just that half of a pizza. And we had to figure out how we're going to divide that up. So in this case, instead of having the 12 counters that we had, we are now focusing on these 4. So the whole here is 4 counters. What fraction would be 0 counters of my group? If you guess 0 fourths, you would be correct. What if I had 3 of these 4 in a line? How many do I have here? Well, this little group here would be 3 of the 4, 3 fourths. If I have 3 fourths up here, then obviously down here what's left over would be the 1 fourth. Remember, your numerator tells you how many you have, and your denominator tells you how many pieces total do you have of that whole. Let's add 4 more. Now our total is 8. So my whole would be 8. So this pile here shows me my whole now. I have a new whole. If I would move one of those over, I would have 1 of the 8, or 1/8. 2 of them would be 2 of 8, or 2/8. What if I would move 4 over? Now I have 4 over here, 4 of 8, or 4/8. Or as you notice, there's the same on each side, which would be 1/2 as well. All right, so let's pretend like there are 8 crowns in one crown box. How many crowns are in 2 boxes? Ooh, so if I have 8 crowns in my box, shown by my 8 purple counters, but I need 2 crown boxes, I would know that this would be representing 1/2 of what my total is. 1 of the 2. So I could just count these as 2 apiece. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 crayons on. I would need 16 crayons to fill 2 boxes. This next example, we're only going to need 6. So we'll hide our other 2. So on this one, we're going to think about birds. There were 6 birds in a tree, and 1 flew away. What is the fraction of the birds that flew away? Well, since it was 1 of the 6, I know that it would be 1/6. What about if the 5 birds stayed in the tree? How many, or what's my fraction then? 5/6. Very good. Now you're getting the hang of it. Okay, in the final part here, we're going to look at our home link. It says, solve and explain to someone at home how you figured out the numerator and the denominator for each fraction in problems 1 through 3. Remember, our numerator is the top number, the denominator is the bottom number. So the numerator tells us how many pieces we have, and the denominator tells us how many total pieces there are. So let's look at number 1. 12 dogs in the park. 2 of them are chasing a ball. Well, how many pieces do we have total in this? Well, in this case, there are 12 total dogs in the park, and only 2 of them were chasing the ball. So 12 here is going to be our denominator. And we're going to put above up here with our numerator as 2, because only 2 of them were chasing the ball. 2/12 were chasing the ball. That answers this one right here. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. 7 children are waiting for the school bus. 4 of them are girls. How many children do we have altogether? Well, we have 7. So that's our denominator. And the numerator in this case is 4, because there are 4 girls out of the 7. Good. Let's look at the next one. It says there are 16 tulips in the garden, and 4 of them are red. What fraction of tulips are not red? Ooh, they're trying to trick us here. I'm going to underline are not red. We know that 4 of them are red, so that means 12 of them have to be not red. So out of the 16, we have 12 that are not red. And there are how many total? You got it, 16. 12/16 are not red. And that does it for today's lesson. Remember, you are smart, you are kind, you are important, and you are loved. Have a fabulous day, Falcons.